Okay, when we're trying to figure out what sample size to do to get a particular error value, it's really coming from this idea that in the confidence interval, we have a formula that looks something like this, right? So this is our point estimate, this is our critical value, and this is our standard error. This together is called the error, or sometimes margin of error. And so in this case, if we want this to be less than 4 minutes, we would say z alpha over 2 times standard error there is less than or equal to 4 minutes. Now we could solve this for n. We're going to end up with n is greater than or equal to, let's see, we would z alpha over 2, and then this whole thing would get squared. Okay, and you could actually use this formula in general. You don't need to algebraically solve for it every time. You could just put this in your notes. The 4, of course, would change from problem to problem, so that would just be E. But in our case, we want a 90% confidence interval. So we need the z of 0.05, and why 0.05? 90% confident, that's 10% that's not confident. That 10% gets split into the two, either it over predicts the mean or under predicts the mean. So 5% on each side, and that's how we get our critical value of 1.645. So we're going to have 1.645 time, and you could also get that through the tables if you prefer. Okay, and it says standard deviation is 29, and 4 is down here. So we're going to square that. So n needs to be greater than or equal to, let me use this calculator here. So we're going to take basically that times 29 divided by 4. Doesn't matter that this is the same thing whether we multiply by this fraction or have the two things on top, but we do need this whole thing to get squared. And where is our squared button? There we go. Nope, that's not what we want. So let's put this in parentheses. And then we will square that. So we get 142.2. Now, typically we would round that down to 142, but notice that we specifically want to be greater than this number. So that tells us we're looking for a sample size of 143. We're looking for the nearest number above that 142.2. And so that's where we get our 143 here. So again, if this had been a t sample, by the way, we would have just had the t critical value. So you would have used the t button on the calculator, and we would have had sample standard deviation right here. But it would have been very, very similar, the whole process, calculation process, to figure out the sample size.